Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kelly, and today I'm going to be doing my August wrap up. It was a good reading month. I actually read more children's books with my kids than I read things that I had chosen for myself to read this month. It was busy, but I always prioritize reading with them to make reading fun. I have two that associate reading sometimes with school, and I want reading to just be joyous for them. So that being said, I'm going to start with the one DNF that I had personally for myself this month, and that's American Huga, and that was by Melanie Morgan. And the reason I DNF this book, I'm sure it's not a bad book. I went into it. This is the kind of Dutch. This is editing, Kelly. It definitely wasn't Dutch. It was Danish. Feeling of coziness. It's hard to describe what exactly the meaning of that word is, and I was hoping to have more of an anecdotal storytelling type, and it was literally just kind of a self-help book, and the suggestions in it were just very standard suggestions, which is why I DNF'd it. Let's get to my favorite read of the month. This was Ruth, which is an Elizabeth Gaskell book, my second Elizabeth Gaskell read, and I read this with Anne from In Search of Wonder. And I really enjoyed this experience. I think a lot of it had to do with the discussion back and forth with Anne, but this book really focused on themes of hypocrisy, how people can be hypocritical, how in this time period, this Victorian time period, a lot of times there was a focus on punishing the child for the sins of the adult. There was a sense of men not having repercussions, and there was a feeling of legalism at times in religious settings above personal faith and commitment. The story of Ruth is the title character. She basically falls in love with a cad, and she's an orphan, and she has no real support system, and her life is ruined when that happens. She goes down a very dark path. There are blessings that come in disguise through this. She ends up having a brother and a sister help her through this time and for many years after. But ultimately, a lot of the story is about redemption and how there is true forgiveness and learning to just have a true faith and repentance. I loved that, and I loved discussing it with Anne. So I also read a arc which has now come out, and this is Tracking Tilly. It's a cozy mystery, and no one died. Tilly is a truck that is lost. We have our main character who is trying to get her grandpa's truck back that she just loves, and he'd had to sell it for financial reasons. And so she is absolutely heartbroken that this truck has been stolen as soon as she wins it from auction. And so the story is about that. There's a little bit of light romance that doesn't overpower the mystery. And the author of this book is Janice Thompson. The next book on the list, this may tie for my favorite. This is, my daughter and I read this together, The Incredible Mrs. Pollifax. Editing Kelly again. Clearly I was distracted. It's The Unexpected Mrs. Pollifax. And I cannot say enough good things about this. This was a mystery about an older woman who she wants to be a spy, and she just goes to the CIA. She's bored, goes to the CIA, and it's funny how she ends up becoming, like, not necessarily a spy at first, but being assigned a job, and she gets herself kidnapped. The side characters are fantastic. The story was fantastic. We giggled so much. And I have Caitlin from Pride and Paperback to thank for us picking this up. She suggested it in a video that she did, and I absolutely loved it. All right, the next book, my youngest son, my 9-year-old, and I read White Fur Flying. And this is a very sweet middle grade book. And it's about Patricia MacLachlan was the author. She is the author also of the Sarah Plain and Tall series. She has a lot of great books out. She wrote a lot of wonderful children's stories in her lifetime. I would love if we could just like have 100 more from her. They were all so amazing. But this is the story of a family that takes in rescue dogs, and there's a little boy across the street who is struggling. He has not spoken a word in a long time. He's staying with some relatives who are very uptight, and it's how the little girls in this family and dogs help heal his heart. I just loved hearing this story with my son. We just really enjoyed it. There is a hilarious parrot in the story. Just can't say anything better about this book. All right, and then, okay, so we had such great experiences with kids' books. Half Magic, old classic children's story by Edgar Eger.
I'm 3 for 3. His name is Edward Eger.
And this is about kids that find a magic coin that gives you half of what you asked for. So they have to get creative and asking beyond what they want. And it's a great family relational story. I loved how the story ended. I know there are more books in the series. I might read more with them, but this was such a great, just clean, beautiful family story with a little fantasy thrown in there. All right, next, my boys and I, my daughter wants to read this, not listen to it. Listen to the second book in the Land of Stories series, and it continued to knock it out of the park. Just lots of great fairy tales and funniness, and just the individual characters of the fairy tale characters dealing with themes of moving on after a parent dies. The father has died. They have a new potential stepfather figure and come in their lives, and how these kids continue to deal with the death of their father, and it's just was fun. All right, next. Okay, this was amazing. Jack, Zulu, and the Waylander's Keep by S.D. Smith and his son J.C. Smith. I might like this even better than the Green Ember series, which is saying a lot. No, I think I might still like the Green Ember series a little bit better, but I would say my kids probably like this even better. So we have an African American young man who lives in West Virginia. His father was African, and he was one of only 2 black police chiefs in his town, and he passes away. His mother and he are on their own. Mother is very sick, and he has a best buddy that is Italian and hilarious, and he has a crush on a girl named Michelle, and there is an amazing magical element. A local Asian bookshop owner introduces him to this land called the Wayland. It is kind of a land between worlds, and I don't want to tell you much else, but it was wonderful. And we got through the sequel, Jack, Zulu, and the Girl with the Golden Wings, also written by father and son SD and J.C. Smith, and I liked it. There were so many themes in these stories of friendship, of pride, and arrogance, and dealing with that, and how you have a tendency to want to let yourself shine, but it wasn't too heavy-handed or on the nose. It was great. I had, really, except for that one DNF, a absolutely fantastic reading month. I hope that you guys did too, and that you read a lot, and that you read a lot. Bye-bye.